Now let's break down everything we know so far about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin, easily one of the darkest and most anticipated action games in the works right now. I'll walk you through the key story details, who's developing it, what the setting looks like, and even share a few of my own thoughts on how the lore could unfold and what surprises might be coming. The game was officially announced back in August 2023. It's being developed by Black Forest Games, and it's being published by THQ Nordic. From day one, the devs made it clear this is going to be a single-player, narrative-driven experience inspired by the structure of the God of War trilogy. So we're not talking about an old-school beat-em-up like past TMNT games. This is a full-on cinematic action game with a serious tone, deep storytelling, and a heavily detailed world. The setting is a post-apocalyptic New York in the future. The city is under the total control of the Foot Clan, now a full-blown authoritarian regime. The main villain is Oroku Hiroto, the grandson of the original Shredder. In the comics, Hiroto is a brutal, unhinged ruler who inherited not just power but the madness that came with it. He's the face of the city's decay, and the ultimate enemy of the last surviving turtle. Now here's where things get really interesting. In this story, only one turtle is still alive. The other three are dead, along with Master Splinter. This isn't a tale about teamwork or lighthearted brotherhood. It's a story about loss, revenge, and one turtle's lonely, brutal path forward. In the original comic, the identity of the survivor was kept a secret for a while, adding to the tension. Even though fans already know the full story from the comic, the game might take a different route. There's a real chance the devs will tweak the narrative, or even flip it on its head to keep players on their toes. But if they do stay faithful to the original, we'll be stepping into the shoes of a completely changed turtle. Someone who's been broken down, reshaped by loss, and now lives only for revenge. This isn't the same light-hearted hero we remember. This is a cold, battle-hardened warrior, walking a lonely path through the ruins of everything he once knew. The game is set to adapt the Last Ronin comic book from 2020, which became an instant hit. It was praised by fans and critics alike for its mature tone, sharp writing, and striking visual style. It's still one of the highest-rated TMNT comics to date and is widely seen as one of the best stories the franchise has ever produced. So yeah, you can expect a dark, emotional journey full of pain, solitude, and one final spark of hope. This isn't going to be anything like the cartoons or the light-hearted movies. This is a gritty, grown-up drama packed with action, world building, and probably a ton of flashbacks that fill in the tragic fate of the fallen brothers. There's a lot of emotional weight here, and that's exactly what gives The Last Ronin so much potential. This might not just be a good Ninja Turtles game, it could end up being the most serious and mature entry the franchise has ever seen. And honestly, TMNT has always had huge potential for video games. You've got distinct fighting styles, unique weapons, and 4 wildly different personalities, perfect for gameplay variety. But this time, it's just one turtle. One lone survivor standing against an entire army. All the color and humor from the old days is stripped away, replaced by darkness, isolation, and raw, merciless justice. Imagine playing as this lone, battle-worn turtle, absolutely tearing through enemies, fueled by nothing but anger and grief. He's not a hero anymore. He's not a symbol. He's a Ronin, cut off from everything, done holding back. He uses all the weapons of his fallen brothers. That mix of gear is going to make for some seriously deep and flexible combat. If the devs pull it off right, this could feel like one of the best combat systems we've seen in a story-driven action game in years. Combat-wise, The Last Ronin will probably lean toward the God of War. Heavy, weighty melee action where every hit feels impactful. You'll likely be able to switch between fighting styles on the fly depending on the situation, which makes sense considering the range of weapons the Ronin carries. But this isn't just about smashing through enemies. There's real potential here for stealth, parkour, and maybe even light RPG elements to blend into the gameplay. All of that would make total sense in a dark, post-apocalyptic version of New York that begs to be explored both vertically and up close. If the devs manage to balance that gritty, emotional story with deep world building and satisfying combat, this could easily become one of the best licensed games of the decade. Taking notes from God of War is absolutely the right call. That game proved you can tell a mature, character-driven story full of pain, growth, and transformation. Exactly what The Last Ronin needs to hit the right emotional beats. It's not just about the action, it's about the weight behind every move. In the original comic book, one of the biggest mysteries was simple but powerful. Who's the last turtle standing? That question drove the entire narrative. Fans spent months debating. When the answer was finally revealed, it caught everyone off guard in the best way. It was unexpected, but it made perfect emotional sense. I won't spoil it here, even though a lot of fans already know. If you're coming into this fresh, trust me, it's better to experience that moment yourself. What's exciting is that the game might actually change things up. Sure, it's based on the comic, but this doesn't have to be a scene-for-scene adaptation. Games are a different medium, and some storylines might need to shift to fit the pacing, player experience, and overall feel of the gameplay. It's totally possible they'll reveal the survivor later in the story, or maybe even throw in a twist that catches everyone off guard, including longtime fans of the source material. That approach honestly makes total sense. If a game sticks too closely to the source material, it risks losing the mystery and surprise that make a story come alive. The devs clearly understand that a video game isn't just a retelling. It's its own medium, with its own pace, its own rhythm, and its own demands for how the narrative and gameplay need to flow together. What am I personally hoping for? First and foremost, solid cinematic combat. A grim, post-apocalyptic New York is already a killer setting, but it needs more than just dark visuals. I want it to feel alive in its decay. Crumbling streets, abandoned buildings, high-tech Foot Clan surveillance gear humming in the shadows, hidden bunkers beneath the ruins. All of that can help build a real atmosphere of isolation and hopelessness that fits perfectly with the Ronin's journey. But above all, the melee combat has to hit hard, literally and emotionally. I want to feel the weight behind every strike. I want every dodge, every block, every counter to feel responsive and meaningful. Each weapon, katana, sai, bow staff, nunchucks, should have its own unique flow, its own physics, its own vibe. If they can nail that tactile, grounded feel in the combat, this could be something really special. For me, as someone who's all about single-player, story-driven games, The Last Ronin is easily one of my most anticipated titles. It's the perfect combo, a franchise I grew up with, a darker, more mature tone, a deeply personal narrative, and a chance to explore a totally reimagined version of a familiar world. Now it's just a matter of waiting for the next round of updates, and hopefully that first full gameplay trailer.